Hey, what's up everybody? The Titanic series is here, and in this video, I'm going to review Jack Dawson. But before I do that, I will say Titanic is a really weird series to have in the Tsum Tsum game. Every Tsum Tsum that I've played with, it's more like a happy Tsum or at least some mischief Tsums, not necessarily something that's morbid. So I feel like it's really weird to have these two Tsums in here, which is Jack Dawson and Rose. So, I mean, regardless of how you feel, let's just review these two Tsums. I don't think that they should belong in this game, but anyways, let's get into it and take a look at the both of them. So the drop rate for both Jack Dawson and Rose Dubucator, they're both the same. So 50% if you have all the Tsums maxed out. Essentially, it's going to be even. And if you're playing during the lucky time, you're going to get an increased chance to get one of these two Tsums. The ability description for Jack Dawson is that he's going to clear Tsums in the shape of a circle. There is one ability that's not called out, which I'll get into a little bit later once we get into the gameplay. But before we do that, if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please consider subscribing. Your subscription really helps me out a lot. And also, I started a line group, so if you need additional friends in this game to send hearts to or just get additional coins, consider joining this line group. It's a relatively active group, and if you need help with some of the missions, feel free to drop your questions in the group chat. There are a lot of active players in there that will help you out, including myself. Alright, so let's get into the gameplay. This gameplay that you're currently watching right now is a skill level 1 game demonstration, so the skill range is going to be extra small. But first, let's take a look at the stats. In order for you to activate Jack Dawson's ability, you will need to clear a total of 14 different copies of him on the screen. The minimum score is 120 with a maximum score of 953. So from a scoring perspective, it's not that amazing for high score. It's okay for minimum score, but not great for maximum score. And having the charge at 14, that's not too bad. I would say that's relatively good for a Tsum. So it's not on the high end, but also not on the low end. It's something that you can actually play with. But if you want to get Jack Dawson to skill level 6, you will need to get a total of 36 copies of him from the premium box, which is on the higher end, and I don't necessarily recommend you to do that for Jack Dawson. So there are a couple of strategies when you are using Jack Dawson, and let me just quickly go over the 3 top things I would recommend you to do. Is before you activate his ability, you just want to wait a couple of seconds to make sure that the entire screen is full of Tsums before activating the ability. By doing that, you'll maximize the ability clear, because during the animation the screen does freeze, so you're not necessarily going to get every single clear or get the maximum amount of clears if you have gaps in the middle. And for this game demonstration, you'll see that some of the gameplays will have gaps in the middle, so it's not necessarily the best representation of what you could earn for skill level 1. Alright, so let's take a look at the skill chart. At skill level 1, the skill range is going to be extra small, and this skill range is in reference to how big that circle is going to be. So for skill level 1, it's going to be extra small. The circle is going to be significantly smaller compared to skill level 6, which is extra large. However, again, you're going to need to get 36 copies of him to get him to skill level 6, which I don't necessarily recommend. But the biggest you could go is technically extra large, but will require you to get 36 Tsums. Alright, so let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison of all 3 of the abilities at skill level 1, 2, and 3. And again, for skill level 1, the skill range is going to be extra small. Skill level 2, it's going to be small, and skill level 3 is going to be medium. But one thing that the game doesn't call out is every single time you play Jack, Rose is also going to spawn. And you'll see there for skill level 1, it's at the very bottom in the middle section. It glows yellow. And at first I wasn't sure what that character does, or if it maybe gets a higher score. It did take me a while to figure out what Rose does. So if you don't know, what Rose essentially does is that if you clear her when you are not in fever time, it will get you right into fever time like you saw there at skill level 1. What I'll do is I'll just show you specifically for skill level 1, so that way you can see what is actually happening and how to get yourself into fever time when you're playing Jack. So I just rewinded the gameplay here just to show you what is actually happening. So Rose is at the bottom center area, and my fever just ended there, and I clear Rose and I got right into fever time right again. So I'm gonna just play this here again in full speed so you can see what's actually happening here. It doesn't matter where your fever bar is. Right when you are not in fever time, you have to not be in fever time for this to work, by the way. So it's not going to fully charge up your fever bar if you are already in fever. But if you're not in fever time and you clear Rose off their screen, you're going to go right into fever time, whether if you just ended your fever or is almost full. So one of the strategy to using Jack is that you want to save Rose and clear her when you are about to go into or when you're about to end fever time. And also you could only spawn one Rose at a time. So in theory, you actually don't need to save her, because typically what I've noticed is that she's going to spawn right away after you clear her. But once you are not in fever time, the first thing you should do is try to look for where that Rose is and clear her as quickly as possible so you could get back into fever time. The quicker you could get yourself back into fever time, the better it is for your score as well as for your coin earnings. So keep that in mind when you are playing Jack. Alright, so the next thing I want to show you guys is a side-by-side comparison of Jack Dawson's ability activated at the same time. So the one you just saw that was in full speed, so let me just slow it down and analyze what's actually happening here. So again, the animation here is kind of cringy because we know what happens to Jack and Rose. If you don't, you might want to watch Titanic. So here's the skill range for skill level 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to be a circle, so you could expect a little bit of hole in the middle for skill level 1 and 2, and a little bit small one for level 3. When you see the higher skill level, you'll see that the inner circle will get filled more and more. But the skill level 4, I was able to get a chain of 20. Skill level 2, I got a chain of 25. And skill level 6, I got a chain of 28. So if you wait for the Tsums to settle and then you activate the ability, this is plus or minus 2, I would say, is probably what you could expect. Moving on to skill level 4, 5, and 6. So the skill range for skill level 4, it's going to be large. Skill level 5, it's going to be extra large. And skill level 6, the skill range is going to be extra large. And really, that's the only difference between all 6 of the skill level, is that the ability is going to clear a lot more Tsums when at the higher skill level compared to the lower skill levels. And the strategy for these higher skill level is also the same. You just want to make sure you save Rose for or clear Rose when you are not in ability time, and then make sure the entire screen is full of Tsums before activating the ability. And that's really it. So Jack is one of those Tsums that's very good for beginners and very easy to use. It's just, unfortunately, I don't think Jack is necessarily a Tsum that you want to spend your skill tickets on. And again, I feel like the Titanic series is a little bit out of place. I don't necessarily see the Titanic series fitting in very well with the other collection of the Tsums. But regardless, I want to show you guys a side-by-side comparison of the higher skill level. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so here it is in full speed. I'm just going to let it play through and then we can analyze it a little bit better. The animation is identical to the lower skill level. You'll see Jack and Rose doing the dance and doing that spin here. But what you'll notice here is that the skill range is a lot bigger for these 3 skill level compared to the lower ones. Skill level 3 and 4 looks relatively similar. They have just a couple of holes here and there. But if you look at skill level 5 and 6, you'll notice that the outer rim of the circle is actually a lot bigger. And the size is actually more like a football size compared to like not necessarily a circle. So it's more like a football shape than a circle to me. And in terms of chaining, for skill level 4, I got a chain of 31. Skill level 5, I got a chain of 32. And skill level 6, I got 35. So in the 30s is pretty good for abilities. Just that it's not necessarily assumed that I would go out and spend my skill tickets on. Overall, Jack is a decent Tsum for beginners, but not necessarily that great for coins. So if you are planning to get Jack, I would recommend you to just get Jack to skill level 3 and stop there, because once you get into skill level 4, 5, and 6, the investment is kind of high, but your rewards aren't that great either. So Jack is not going to be great for score and not that great for coins either. So I think if you have Jack at skill level 3, that's more than enough. So let's take a look at the results for all 6 of these gameplays. For skill level 1, I ended up with 4.5 million points, and at skill level 6, I got 9.8. So for scoring, it's not that great. There's definitely a lot more better Tsums out there that you could use for score. And as for coins, at the lower skill level, I got 1,304, and at skill level 6, I only got 3,182. So for coins, not that great at skill level 6, which is why I recommend you to just get this Tsum to skill level 3. At skill level 3, you could use the 5-4 and the coin boost and hope that you get a lot of coins there. Once you have Jack at either skill level 2 or skill level 3, you could actually use the 5-4 and the coin boost to enhance your gameplay, but I don't necessarily think that the investment to leveling up Jack to skill level 4 and 5 is really worth it. So if you want to save your coins, or if you have limited resources for coins, getting Jack to skill level 3 is already sufficient. But that's my review for Jack. I hope that you guys found this video helpful or at least entertaining. And if you would like to see more Tsum Tsum content just like this, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching.